Hello everyone and welcome back to Miss Key's classroom. My name is Rachel and today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 8 essential resources that I think every high school teacher needs to have. These are the ones that I use nearly every single day and that I absolutely couldn't live without, and so let's just get straight into it. So number 1 is whiteboard markers. Every single high school teacher needs a good set of whiteboard markers. At high schools, you are often moving around to lots of different rooms, and so you can't guarantee that there's going to be a marker in the room. So definitely grab your own or see if the school can give you some and keep them in your bag, because you never know when you need to write something on the board and you don't want to be stuck without something to write with. Number 2 is an A3 clear sheet folder to store all your resources in. I often use this one to store all my wall displays because more often than not they are bigger than an A4 size folder, and so an A3 sized one works perfectly. I just picked this one up from Officeworks and I keep it in my desk so that I can easily access and flip through all the resources that I've got and find the ones that I am looking for. However, if you aren't someone who uses wall displays, an A3 folder is also super handy for storing student work or student examples and storing any other resources that you might gather during your time teaching, because an A3 size is always pretty much guaranteed to fit any size resource in, whereas an A4 I've found might be a little bit small for some resources. So an A3 folder I think is an essential thing. Number 3 is some sort of term overview or term calendar that you can pin up above your desk or have on hand to see what you've got coming up in the term. I spoke about this in a previous video. I like to use my term overview planners. I'll link them down in the description below, but you can also use any sort of one-page calendar or even a traditional flip-through calendar, as long as you have something that you can easily see what you've got to do, maybe when school events are on and when all assignments are due as well. Number 4 is a notebook to write things down in. I carry my notebook with me everywhere and I use it to jot down things during meetings, or maybe jot down things that students tell me that I need to remember. I carry my notebook with me everywhere. This is my one from last year and it's completely full, and so I actually went to Officeworks and bought 3 new ones. These ones are super pretty and gorgeous from Officeworks. So in my notebook, I also write down maybe notes for lessons as well. I said in my previous video that I don't write out full lesson plans anymore. So instead, I will tend to write down sort of just guiding notes in my notebook, and I can refer to those throughout my lesson if I sort of forget where I'm up to, or maybe I jotted down an idea that I wanted to do, so I can check in my notebook what I'd written down and what I wanted to do for that lesson. And so I always think that carrying a notebook with you, or at least something to write down on, even if it's just a lined pad of paper or notes on your phone or something, I just find it the easiest way to write things down that I need to remember. Number 5 is a set of sticky notes. This one might sound a little bit random, but whoever invented the sticky note was a very smart person, because I use them nearly every day, or at least every couple of days, both to write myself notes on, and I also use them as activities in my class. So if I need to quickly jot something down and put it on a sticky note so that I remember it, I'll do that, and maybe I'll stick it to my phone or to my laptop so I don't forget that. But then I also use them in my class for activities. We do things like sticky note mind maps, where each student gets a sticky note and can write down their idea and then come and stick it up on the whiteboard to create a whole class mind map. I really like sticky note mind maps because it sort of takes away that fear factor of having to give an answer in front of the class, like being called on by the teacher, and it allows each student a bit of time to refine their ideas before they stick it up on the mind map. So that's just one idea that you can use for sticky notes, but if you don't have a set, I definitely suggest that you get some. Number 6 is a good filing system on your laptop. This isn't necessarily a resource, but it's something that you should definitely organize for yourself, because you don't want to keep gathering resources over, say, the next 10 years, not having a good filing system in place and then never being able to find something. My tutor at uni, he showed me his laptop once, and he'd been teaching for quite a number of years, and there were just files everywhere. His desktop was covered in them, the folders were all over the place, and I was like, why have you not fixed this? And he said, oh, you know, it's just sort of too far gone now. It's such a big job to try and organize it all. So I strongly suggest that if you don't have a filing system yet and you're in your first couple of years of teaching, work out what system works best for you and stick to it and do it now. Organize all your files so that they are easy to find. Often teachers, we will gather resources from various places and we'll sort of stick them in a folder and then forget about them. However, if you create a good filing system, you'll be able to find those resources when you actually think of it. So for mine, as you can see, I split mine up into subject areas to begin with. I've got history, English, and geography. And then within each of those, I divide them up a little bit differently. So for history and geography, I split them up into year levels. So I've got years 8 to year 12. And the reason I do that is because the content for each of those year levels is pretty set in stone from the Australian curriculum. So if you're teaching year 8 history, you know what you're going to be teaching. So if I go into this folder, you can see I've then got each folder for the different units that are in that. And then within each of those unit folders are all the resources that I've got. Some of the folders might only have a couple of resources or maybe even one resource in them, but I prefer to have the folder there so that if I click into it, I can see, all right, I'm teaching Shogunate Japan and I've got heaps of resources for that. But maybe if I click into another one and I think, oh, okay, I was going to be teaching that, but I've actually only got 1 or 2 resources for that. Maybe I'll try and do something different instead. But then you can see for my English folder, I actually arrange it based on genre or on text type. And the reason I do this is because often the units we teach can be used at multiple different year levels. So I've still got my years 8 to year 12's folder at the bottom, but in those ones, it's just my subject outlines which apply only to those year levels. The year 12 one is a little bit different and I've got all my files for year 12 and the topics I teach in that one just so that they're really easy to access and I can sort of pick it up and go. However, if you look at my other folders, I've got things like films, novels, narrative writing, creative writing, and so if I click into, say, films, I've then got folders for each of the films that I have resources for. So if I go into the Incredibles folder, you'll see all my resources there that I've got for teaching the Incredibles. I taught that one with my year 8 class last year, but who's to say that I might have a year 7 class later on and want to teach it with them, or maybe even a year 9 class. And so that's why I like to arrange based on theme or genre or text type, just so that the resources that I have aren't constrained to a specific year level and I can locate them easily. It's really up to you how you want to organize your files. Maybe if you're a maths and science teacher, you might like to do based on year level if the content that you teach is very set for each year level, or maybe you're a bit more open. If you're an art teacher, you might want to arrange based on different text types as well. So it's really up to you, as long as you've got some sort of system that organizes all the resources and all of the files that you do have. Number 7 is having a good teacher bag. This one is an essential because as high school teachers, we are often moving from room to room between lessons, which means that we have to carry all of our things with us. And so having a bag that's going to last and that's going to be nice and sturdy is definitely an essential. This one is mine. It's just from Mimco. I bought it a few years ago now, but it looks exactly the same as the day I bought it because I opted to spend a little bit of extra money for one that was really going to last me. So I suggest that you view your teacher bag as a bit of an investment because I think that it's better to get one that's going to last a long time and be able to carry everything rather than sort of buying a new bag every year or every 6 months or something like that. One of the students I used to teach actually used to refer to me as the teacher with the bag that could knock you out because my bag is so large and in charge. But I think that I would rather have a sturdy bag that's going to carry all my things. It can fit my laptop and my drink bottle and my pencil case in it. I would much rather have that than sort of a little flimsy bag that might break at any moment. The Daily Edited has some really great bags as well, so I would suggest that you check those out if you are in the market for a new one. I have a few friends who've got theirs from there and they really love it. Country Road also has some of those sort of leather satchels, which might be a bit more your style if you don't want a proper handbag and you just want something you can sort of sling over your shoulder. So check out those as well. But definitely having a strong and sturdy teacher bag is an essential resource that you need. Last one is a little bit silly, but it is Lollies and Chocolate. I think that Lollies and Chocolate are essential sometimes to get through the day, but also to use as rewards. Obviously, this one is a little bit more dependent on what kind of funds you have to spend on your class. However, I have a box of chocolates and lollies that I will sometimes bring out in a lesson and share with my class, maybe as a whole class reward or as prizes if we're playing a game or something like that. And believe me, I've never seen high school students listen as much as when I'm standing up the front with my bag of lollies, waiting for them to be quiet. They sit down and listen straight away because they're like, oh, she's got the lollies out, she's ready, what's she gonna do, what are we doing, how can we get a lolly, I want a lolly. And so I recommend using them as prizes or as sort of incentives in your class. This one isn't necessarily essential in terms of you have to have it to be an amazing teacher or to have a really successful lesson or anything like that. But really, I do think that sometimes the kids have just had a really tough day and a little bit of chocolate goes a long way to perking them up and getting them involved in a lesson or getting them excited about a task. So if you don't use prizes or lollies or chocolate or something like that in your lessons, maybe give it a go and see how the kind of effect that it has on your class. So there you have it. They are my 8 essential resources that I, as a high school teacher, use every day or every week. I think that these ones are the ones that help me get through the day, or especially for number 8, help my students get through the day. And so your 8 essential resources might be completely different to mine, and that's okay. Everyone has their own personal preference. So if yours are different or you've got other ideas that you think are really great resources that high school teachers should have, chuck a comment below. I'd love to hear what other people's ideas are. But for now, thank you so much for joining me in this video. I'll be back for more over the coming weeks. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all very, very soon in my next video. Bye.